Welcome everyone to the 205th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 4th, 2018. Welcome everyone to the new year and the new season of workshops and teachings from the Keshe Foundation. And we'll be here again with Mr. Keshe and Caroline Keshe and other knowledge seekers from around the world. And I'm happy to be part of that proceeding. I'm Rick Crammond. I'll be your host today. I think we are ready with Mr. Keshe, and he'll have the latest news. I think we also have a look at the new website. Is that what you like to see, Mr. Keshe? Are you there?
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers workshops, that has become part of the weekly pattern work of the foundation. Yes, there are a lot of new things happening around, and one of them is the new web page which has been done for the new year. We leave it to Stanley to introduce. Stanley, would you like to take over and show us what you've done and what has been developed, please?
Yes, Mr. Keshe. Hello, everyone. I'm sharing the screen with you now. So, some of you may notice that in the summer, when we published the new web page, we soon changed the design of the homepage, the landing page. And now we are coming again with the new one. The reason is that all this time we were looking for how to get to the interface that would be suitable for all the generations around the world, being young or old, and on all devices, laptops, mobile phones, tablets. And we're looking forward how to get this landing page that would give us a really crisp design, good accessibility, and it would be easy to use for all. So what you see now is the homepage of keshefoundation.org, and it contains three main sections. Here on top you see is always we are here to serve, not to be served, and the most hot topics that we deal around. And then this section is important section. Here is actually the navigation part where one on laptop can see all the sections at once and can easily decide where to go. As you can see, it's grouped into plasma science and technology, so one who is interested to get to know more about that part will go in this direction and choose one of these links. Each one then leads into another page where is more information about that topic. And then the second one, very important to all of us, is KFSSI education. And the third one, manufacturing, that we are working very hard on now around the world. And the central topic of Keshe Foundation meeting is to return peace on earth. And here is everything about that movement, what information you may need about it. Here you can see as the last topic, after the EC Constitution, we have now commandments. I will show this page a little bit later. And then the community, testimonials, blueprints, forum, support center, so where you come in and share the ideas with us, your experience, where you can get more information about blueprints and so on. Web store, which comes, of course, out of manufacturing, where we offer the products. And here what is added are also consoles that most of you already know about, Universal Console and Earth Console. Down is the old part, let's say the part that you were used to get to in the summer when the first big change happened. Here at this part, you will see in that the pictures will be changing, and here is also the link that you can jump to the topic if you wish to. And this is for those that miss the first big change is still at the bottom. Content on the pages will be updated in time. There is more information than it was available in the summer. Just come and see. To anyone that you would like to introduce to Keshe Foundation, just tell one thing, keshefoundation.org. And you should find what you're looking for, because it's not needed to spread the separated links around. But if you say keshefoundation.org, they should always find what they're looking for and more, right? So if we just put one link somewhere, then maybe people do not pay attention that there is actually all this information. So now, if you will be looking at this page from your mobile device, you will see that, I need to get this way, that I try to reshare the window. This is better, yeah. So on the mobile device, you will see that the things will be stacked upside down this way, but the content is the same. Just in this part, because the mobile devices cannot display this, normally you have these groups collapsed, and you need to tap on the certain plus, and it will expand, and you will get these topics the same way available like you're used to on the desktop version. Actually, I think it's not only on Plus, but on the whole line. You can tap anywhere. It's quite easy, so even if your display is small, you will still probably have no problem with it. And here at the bottom is still this part from the very first change. Donate button, you know. On this donate button, everyone can find not just the PayPal, but there is also an option for the credit cards within the PayPal. So this is possible to use also for the student renewals. Some of you were asking this question, how can we donate for the 2018? So PayPal and credit cards option is also available. Yeah, and on this page you can also find the information if you wish to volunteer. So you can get enough information how to join us and establish the communication with us. This is the page behind. Here is for volunteers at the bottom, and I'll try to go as slow as possible for those that have slower internet link. And here is the donate button, which leads to the PayPal and the credit card options. Okay, so at any time, if you click on this logotype, you will be returned to the home screen, and you will be able to navigate to the further pages. So now you can click on, if you are interested in the latest topic, which comes out of the last public teaching, where Mr. Keshe was talking about the commandments that were brought by Moses and those that were not. We compile this information from his teaching into this page. So you can click either here on top or down in the navigation part, and I will now expand the window so that we go to the desktop view, and you will see here it starts a quote that resonates in all of us, and then the explanation, what happened with Moses, and then we start with the 10 Commandments that you all wanted to go through in the last teaching, and the reference, where are these commandments actually taken from. And here we start with the next 14 commandments that were not presented at the time of Moses. And here you see two are a little bit separated from the rest. Those are two that Moses actually cut down from the stones and did not present them at that time. And then the rest are the commandments that were brought by Mr. Keshe to us in the last teaching. And the last one, it's still not disclosed. And here is the note. Man will be enlightened with the last commandment at the time he joins the universal community, so that you understand this information. What does it mean? Here is the reference to the public teaching, to 204th public teaching on YouTube. And in the next part of the page, there is another experiment that we are doing. This time we analyzed everything what Mr. Keshe taught us in the last public teaching, and we put it here commandment by commandment with the timing information from the teaching. So that's another idea how you could study the public workshops or private workshops in the future. It doesn't take much time, but it really deepens your knowledge because you can focus on the parts that are taught and you can really think about it. So here, for those that are interested to know, you can actually find hour, minute, second from to where the commandment was presented. And at the bottom, here again is the reference to the public teaching, and at the bottom are the 10 Commandments as known in Vatican, just for the information that you can see how the Vatican sees them. And two sources is always the Deuteronomy, and again the reference from Vatican website, so that you can go and see and study for yourself. So this is what I wanted to present to you today. I will jump back to the home page and just shortly jump also to EC Constitution page, your Earth Council Constitution, that some of you already heard about it. And so this is the page where we are publishing the constitutions translated to many languages. The original one is here. This is Constitution in English, and then those that are published without any note in the brackets are also finalized first translations that the Earth Council reviewed and confirmed. And these translations are brought by the Universal Council members or supporters, and we encourage you to find your time also to translate to other languages that are not presented here, or that you see for some it's written in the brackets will be published soon. That means somebody is already working on it, but maybe that person needs help to finalize it faster. For example, for the Russian one, we know that we would need more translators to come and join. So this is the part of EC Constitution. We go again, click on the logotype or on home, come back. So this is it. We could jump shortly to the Universal Council page. First time you can see some more information about that until they create and add more. And about the events related to the Universal Council. The language is currently supported. Here we are inviting more people that feel in their soul that could join and present the language in Universal Council. There is also the contact form for the Universal Council to get in contact and start talking. And I think this would be enough for today. I would give the word back to Mr. Keshe. Thank you all for listening. Mr. Keshe.
Yes, thank you very much, Stanley. This has been a hard work from Stanley and Ella and a team in the background. There are new teams of what I call designers, and a number of people join us to bring these features on. The front page, this web page, will be changed again very soon, but in the same format as the team in Far East is working on it. I've seen the preview of it, but it's beautiful what has come out. It's very easy, and this is how it should be, that we can all reach very easily what we need and where we can go to. And with this, we can always add whatever it comes, as Stanley was talking yesterday to us. This is part of the progress we are going through. And as you've seen, we have put 6 manufacturing positions which are getting worked on, and there are more coming in to make it 11 by March. In this process, we add, as we said, another 30 or so manufacturing by the end of the year, which is our target. And addition to that, the 3 new space research centers, which are being developed, working some on, and will go into the further development. As we said, Ghana is our spaceship center for Africa. A huge amount of money is getting invested in Africa to reach this. We keep to our work and our promise. And we have planned and work on the way the same way with Arizona. Arizona is split in 2, manufacturing and space development. And the same goes with another point, which is at the moment under development as becoming 3rd research center. This is important for us, as these are the interface from now on between the Keshe Foundation and governments. We are establishing a system that we can deal with governments and they can interact with us on anything they have. This is important as we convert governments to one government, that collectively we see the change, collectively we understand the change. In so many ways, as we promised, the PPG, which is a plasma power generators, have been given to 3 different groups to look and develop in different ways and understand the process. This is important for us because we are on a standby in a case of any incident that can trigger a war due to fuel or energy or political. The 3 groups will release the technology automatically, which means you become energy self-sufficient. With it comes a lot of other things. With it comes a lot of acceptance and understanding for us through the work of the soul. Now that we understand, the soul of the man is the sun, and the soul is the creator of the physicality of the body of the man. This is a part which many people have problem with. How can I produce things on my own when I always relied on the intermediary of the sun to feed me? But in fact, sun is the center of the energy for the strength of the life on earth and on the solar system. But the soul of the man has the power of totality of the whole understanding. One of the biggest problems, as we said, when we finished with last week, was understanding the commandments. The commandments had to be, I've released the balance, the commandments which was given to Moses, and he did not release. So those who are religious will fight for this, will discuss this, that what and where and how it suits them. In so many ways, if you look at the commandments which was published last week, it puts straight away the religious leaders in one question mark. Thou shalt not lie. And the second one, there is only one creator. These 2, if and when it's done, accepted by the religious groups of different path, of political and economical, Then we understand that there is no need for what we have created as a financial monetary system. There is no need for places of worship, because the temple of man becomes the soul of the man. Then we rely, we don't need to go somewhere to ask or beg or whatever we've done for past centuries and thousands of years to get energy from what actually comes from our own soul, and then we give it the credit to somebody else. As I said, when man realizes the power of his own soul, man has evolved. The point of evolution comes when we understand that we believed in the sun to give us the light, the energy, the food, but we never stood still to understand the sun is the soul of the man. In so many ways, we look at it, we need a constant reminder of one point. What does this light do? What does it convert to? What does it become? Most of us have relied on one thing or two things, on going to the shop or cultivating, or somehow getting the physical need energies. Can you put the screen on a stand so it stops rotating more for a second, please? What is important for us? I want to show you something. This picture, I ask you to explain what you see. Rick, I'll send you a picture. Can you put that up, please? This will bring home, when I saw it the first time, it is amazing how it brings so much home. But we have to understand it. We have to understand what this picture means. I want to know, I'm sure many of you have seen this picture. I would like you to comment on it. What do you think this picture is? Anyone wants to make a comment? What do you think what this picture is explaining?
The rush of food that people get before bad news, like a hurricane or something that's going to devastate some areas.
Anyone else?
Possibly a scarcity of food due to breakdown in structures of some sort.
Anyone else?
I remember this picture very much alike in the parts of Yugoslavia where after the war started, the economy broke down, and when we were going to the seaside in Croatia, every shop looked like this, and it was crazy to see.
This looks like a photo from Germany. Was it from East Germany?
Explain.
So I never have been in East Germany. I have been in Romania till the late 80s, until 1990. And in the late 80s, we had no empty shelves practically. They were all filled with something, but probably we had 20 meters only of pickled cucumbers and nothing else. We had some scarcity, but it was...
Okay, anyone else?
Brett says in the comments there, it says, this is what you see in Africa.
This picture is a real picture. It's been taken in past few weeks in Germany. But it has two meanings. What the German supermarket has decided to do was to take everything which is not made in Germany or produced in Germany, to show the Germans how we become dependent on other nations for our food. That's all it is. The supermarket decided to show this is the state of one nationhood. If we call ourselves as nations we do, this is the shelves. I'm sure in other countries we'll find out there'll be more scarcer. There'll be nothing on the shelves. Some of them even less than this. This, if you look in the background of the picture, is all the same. a lot of brochures, but totally empty. And you see there are tags on the barriers. It tells you what product was there. This is how we have become one nation, relying on each other as one planet, and we try to separate each other as a nation. This is very recent, it's a couple of weeks old. This was to explain why we are fighting, because of the positions which has risen in Germany with the racism and the rest, that we all need each other. Without the pita bread, without the curry, without the German food, without the English sauce, without the French cuisine, these shelves become empty. In each nation in different version. And then this shows us how we become one nation. How we become one resource-based entity. This is in reality what we are striving for as Keshe Foundation. That when these shelves are filled in, there is no mention of the nation, where it came from. It comes from another brother, another sister, another position on this planet, that they care for us and they serve us, that we can live and have the luxury to live. When the shelves across this planet fill the same way everywhere, then we have achieved the target of being equal. One says Russia, one said Africa, one said the disaster. This is the disaster of humanity we look on the screen. That we have not come to be transparent and correct with ourselves to understand we are one. But this picture has a second image, second understanding. This should be, in a way, what we will see in the future. Exotic foods which we would like to create, to have, to test. Then our soul can create it, that we can take the pleasure. When we learn that we can convert the energy from our soul to the energy of our life. Can we have the picture back, please? Then we'll see the reality. We can produce everything through the conversion of energy of our soul. Then we can develop a condition that in space, all these shelves don't exist, they're empty. We have become habitual to produce what the man needs. Now that we open the space of the universe in an open way and open manner to the other races, would they bring their foods and put on these shelves that the travelers of the space on Earth can openly purchase what they enjoy? Or have they developed to a position that they understand the position of the strength of the soul and they do not need to bring? Would we in the future have, as was years ago in Europe, a section for Asian foods, a section for South African food? As we become more cosmopolitan, would we become, in the next step, cosmopolitan, which means we bring the foods of the cosmos on these shelves? Would we learn how and instructions in what the strength we need to taste the food from another planet, another position in the universe? As I said, in 2018, we start looking at the realities of what is to come. One of the things which is most concern for all of us, every single one of us, from the second we open our eyes to the second we close our eyes, and the thoughts of the next day when we open our eyes, what we have to do, is one thing: liquid and food, water and food. Would we have access? Would we be water for us to drink? And would there be a food that I can eat, that I can guarantee my survival till the next night? In the space there is no night and day. So it becomes, what do I need for next time, next month, next years, that it can feed me? Would the cycle of the regeneration of the cell of the man in space, if he decides to carry to his present physicality, change? At the moment, we change the cell of our skin every 28 days or so. Our blood cells changes about the same time. Or other cells of the body of the man on regular basis changes, because there is so much need for energy to give and take. In depth of space, when we do not have such a huge interaction of the fields, the way we have established on this planet, would the cell of the body of the man, of the skin, will change every 200 years? Would it change every 10 days because of the initial energies which are coming to it? It's part of the evolution. Our body has tuned itself to 28 days because it fits into the cycle of the moon and the sun and everything else which we have created. Because each day of the moon cycle with Earth creates different absorption of the rates of the fields from the sun and from the moon and from the Earth. This is one thing which we have never understood, and we have to understand. Environmental conditions dictates how we receive, and we have cycled ourselves into it. We do it so naturally, we don't even think about it. We receive different energy on a full moon than when there is no moon for a few hours or a couple of days. We need that because it gives us a spectrum of the energies which we need to conserve to do. In deep space, when there is no such a revolution and evolution of time in respect to rotation of the Earth and the rotation of the moon and the sun, it becomes constant. There is no need for regeneration of the cells so fast, so much. Life of the man will run into thousands of years, like every other being in the universe. The secret of fountain of youth or life is the combination of understanding the totality of life. Would we take into space to live longer life, or would we stay on this planet and use the food on these shelves to limit our lives? This is what mankind has to open its eyes in 2018 to. As we develop, as we bring resources, then we have to understand, how do we use these resources? Or do we use one source, which is the soul of the man, to feed it? If you remember, those of you who were with us some 3-4 years ago when we were in the Sensano, we had a visit by an Indian guru. In one of the presentations, pictures of the introduction, we see his picture in the lab in the Sensano. I don't know if you can look in the background, please. In the introduction, you see him standing with the guru's frog next to me and his people in the lab. This guru gained prominence with his cult, and his point of elevation was that how many times he has managed to not to eat for 21 days. And every time he could do this, his mastership, his elevation of position in respect to his followers increased, because nobody could eat for 21 days and stay alive. Drinking, he could do. Eating, we could do a few days, but this gives him elevation. This gives him position that he could do things. In his meeting with us, when we sat on the table, and I explained to him the secret, what he does, and it's not very clever thing what he does, and he gains elevation and position because of, he knows, he has learned a trick in the physical dimension of the man. In fact, all of us can do this. Any one of us can survive without food on Earth and beyond. Many of you, through my teachings, have started drinking gas water and substituting the energy of the fruit or food with what we call pulling in the gravitational field strength of the food or the fruit into the water and drinking it. In a way, we are still relying on what I call copycat job. We copy the strength field of the orange into the water, and then we drink the water. And the fallacy is now we don't kill an animal, because now we know the energy. We just copy it and we stop eating. I've seen people in China in my travels in the last year that there are many people in China which just drink water, but they have made a gas of this water from the materials. So in a way, it's going to the shelf and buying the same product, but now it stopped being in a package, it's in the water. This is beautiful. But we can go one step further, even 2 steps further, even 3 steps further in understanding of this evolution. When we speak about a guru who can not eat for 21 days, if any of you manages to eat and not drink or not eat for, let's say, 50 days or 100 days, you definitely will take over his cult, because you are more clever than him. So you become the new gurus. And if somebody cannot eat for a year or 2 years, definitely he's God. If we go according to the basis of the present understanding in this cult system. But we understand the science, there is no cultism. We understand now the technology, how we absorb energy. There is no need to make any more churches and gods. Because now we have become the creator. We create the energy we need. We create a condition for energy we need to be absorbed by us. As I said to the guru, you should have explained what you do to your flock. You're deceiving them. He said to me, you have found my secret. I said, there is no secret. This is what is done all the time for those who understand. The process is very simple. All of us do the same thing as the guru does, but we have never realized. It's so amazing how much we have knowledge and we ignored it, or we never understood it, that it became an ignorance from our part. Go back to the beginning of the teachings. Very earlier on teachings, I have explained many times that in the present science of body of the man, they explain to us that we need to breathe oxygen to survive. And as I said in all my teachings, if you've been with us, is that this is such a huge fallacy. That none of us, nowhere in our lungs, we ever allow a single cell of oxygen cross our lung into our blood. What does this mean? This means that we have learned in our blood to create a replication same as the orange and the water. We bring the energy of the air into our lungs, and in our blood cells, the matching energy in the liquid of the blood converts and receives the energy it needs from the air we breathe. This is one point that the world of medicine and biology have never understood. Now we have the knowledge, we understand more. Look at what happens. You create a condition in your systems where you put an orange, you create a water, a condition of the plasma, and the energy of the orange is transferred into the liquid. And now liquid carries the energy which you can drink from and take what you like. In a way, you're a third-hand process conversion. So the same thing happens in our lung. The energy from the air coming into our lung with the liquid which is present in the lung, it becomes that water. Because it's all in a magnetic gravitational field strength environment, our lung. Then, as the blood passes, the same now, the lung in converting and holding energy, what do? You get a cup to drink it, or you take the water and you put it in a patch and you put it next to your skin and evolves to become, as you have understood, conversion of energy, and always gives to the weaker. So, in a way, if you look at it, you have a floating, dynamic body, which is the blood, and you have a stationary pad, pain pad, which is a food pad, you call the lung. So you understand, never oxygen crosses the wall. Now we understand the science of the food, understand the science of the conversion of the fields into the water and then drinking from the water, or converting it into the water and making a patch from it and putting on our skin to get rid of our pain, which none of you have ever done before. When you made that orange and you drank it, you taste the orange. Next time, what do you need for a cancer? Put in that water. You don't need to make gases of it. This is how you have become copycat. Extend the knowledge, then you understand. So this is the process that in that condition, we only transfer energy from our lung, from the air we breathe, and because of the weaker strength in the liquid of the blood of the man, the energy is transferred across. No oxygen has ever left the lung of the man to enter into the blood of the man to oxygenate it, as it's been said. The brightness in the color of the blood, as we see, is just because as it receives energy more, it becomes of higher order. So it becomes brighter. But there is a limit in what carry, and that limit is what it carries for a given cell. Every blood cell is destination coordinated. It finds its way. It goes like a motorway. It goes only to Rome. It does not go to Brussels. It doesn't go to Beijing. The curve is a strength field. Its GPS is connected to GPS of a specific cell in a specific position in the body of the man. Every cell of the blood of the man is specific one cell where it feeds and no others. In time, man will understand. And in time, when we understand this, when the cell gets to the cell, the blood cell, when it gets to the cell destination, it does the same thing. It transfers its energy for it. It's just like one catering system for one office, one cell for one cell of the blood with the transportation. And in that process, because it carries the energy, it carries the information, it has to have an interaction between itself, and it has a few seconds, milliseconds, microseconds to pass and transfer energy in the blood system. Then we understand it already predestines what I'm short of to receive from the lung. So in a way, the cell of the tip of the toe tells to its corresponding cell in the blood cell that this is when you go to the storage, that's what I need from the pad of the lung, what to bring for me, that in that process I can feed the amino acid, which is partially the soul of myself, with that I can survive. So now we understand the biology, physiology of the biology of the man in a totally different way and a correct way for the first time. So when we breathe, in how we breathe, we dictate different energies. The air we breathe in Himalaya, with the position we are in as an altitude from the center of the earth, few hundred meters difference, few hundred meters, which is meager distance from the center of the core, dictates different physical condition, dictates different absorption because of the condition of the environment, of the fields, of the planet, the sun, what the body and what the cell at the toe has decided to be working in balance. Now we understand for the first time, when the soul of the man creates the physicality of the man, which becomes the cell on the tip of the toe, is actually with that dictates what it needs to release. So our soul becomes that orange, where by conversion into liquid of the presence, which is not a need to be liquid, it can be a different dimension, strength field, converts the energy which the cell in the tip of the toe needs. So we understand a new dimension, which means how to feed that soul in the tip of the toe with the soul from the energy of the soul of the man, that the physicality can confirm its existence. We go back to the guru. I explained to the guru his trick. And that was very simple. We all now understand that the strength of the field we absorb dictates what is given to the body of the man. Even water has energy field strength. So if you can find a way that the energy transfer in the lung can be of the liquid of the water which the body of the man needs, you can create the same oxygen and hydrogen which is in the air you breathe to the strength of the liquid of the water which the body of the man needs to survive in deep space, if you decide to carry the physicality of the man. So it's for you to test. Then it brings another dimension. As we know everything is exactly the same, has an amino acid base, which is a carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen based, it's a combination of different field strength. Then we decide through our emotion in interaction with the field of the soul and what comes in as an energy of the planet, through our emotion, that I taste banana because that's what I need, that's what my body is craving for, and the energy of it. So your emotion in interaction with the fields of your soul and the environment which you bring in to convert can give you anything you need. Or as we do in our subconscious, we recreate the matter state of emotion in the physical dimension through the interaction of the field of the soul and the environment, which has to itself a dynamic gravitational system or a dynamic combination of gravitational and inertia, where we decide to replicate the field strength of the inertia. We give ourselves physical manifestation in that dimension. So easy. If through our emotion we decide to give ourselves no manifestation, as is only gravitational and magnetical, but of a lower or very higher inertia, we decide not to manifest. So the physical manifestation of the man is understanding between the interaction and the emotion of the physicality in interaction with the environment, which decides on how, where, and the way we manifest ourselves in the space. So we have to understand in the physical body of the man how we convert energy to the need of the physicality. In one of the research centers very soon, we will create everything the body of the man needs through our systems. The team will start working as of next week, where we can produce any energy that we need. The new space research centers for food and material, which is established and it becomes operational from next Monday, is set to do this, that you can physically see this. These are competent Keshe Foundation scientists, plasma physicists, who are on the edge, have understood and can do the conversion. And they have all the support from me to develop it. They already achieved some, but now is the integration of the total system. One of the points which goes back to Mr. Guru is very simple. You understood the conversion of the amino acid to what you changed with the essence of emotion, and you called it orange. Now, change your breathing. Understand your lung is the gravitational point of your body, as Dr. Quata told us last week in his understanding and question. You decide by different rhythm what you breathe in. Move slightly the position of your breathing and physicality, and then control the heartbeat, which is now, as we said, the soul of the man is a star, and the new system which has received all the energies and mixes up, which is now the heart of the man, as the earth. You decide if the field strength from the heart, which has absorbed the energy through the pad system from the lung, from the environment of the existence, if it's going to create amino acid, is it going to create banana strength in interaction? Or, as we have seen in the body of the solar system, the interaction of the gravitational magnetic field of the sun, which is the soul of the man, and the gravitational magnetic field of the earth, which is the heart of the man, dictates what materials are created in the interaction between the fields of the two elements: oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. So now you understand how easily, for the first time, if you can control the speed, the rate, the absorption of the energy from the environment, you do not need to be dependent on anything. Then you walk through the shelves of these supermarkets with everything to you being irrelevant, empty, because I don't need. I don't need to have a banana which is made out of the slave work of a man for peanuts to feed his family, for me to become the abuser. I don't need to rely on the African to die in starvation, meager food, for it, for the matter state to be put in a tin or aluminum foil or whatever, for me to have the pleasure to have it on the shelf. Then in deep space, there are no supermarkets. Where are you going to shop? Except going to the supermarket of the soul of the man, and you become the supermarket in shelving it and deciding what you want to take from it. Can you close the microphone in the background, please? This is important for us to understand. This is where we are evolving. This is where in 2018 we enter a new dimension. Then you understand. If you teach it, you understood. This is what I said in the teachings of past few months. Now we bring all the teachings together and you start understanding more and more. Through the dynamic systems, you understood the soul. Now through the orange and the cups you drank the water of, you understand now the cup is the body of the man. And the orange is the emotion of the man who would like to feel that orange. And the source of it is the soul of the man which created the orange to start with. Now you understand very easily how you have to use the dimension of the physicality in the interaction of the emotion of the soul of the man with the field of the soul of the man to feed the body of the man. So easy. So easy. So those of you who went through the evolution, especially those in China, that by only drinking water from what you made ganses of, gain trust and start testing. Decide the rate of absorption of the energy from the environment by breathing, which is, even this is an intermediary step, still we teach you more. Then you absorb the fields in the blood of the man, you bring it to the center of gravitational field of the heart of the man, and then through the emotion you decide to interact the field of the soul and the heart, which is the physical part of the body of the man, and create the friction which gives you the taste, the feeling and pleasure of the banana. Then, do you need to cut a tree to kill an animal or to destroy anything else, except what the environment has given you freely to what it has available, which you will call air, to become food. Then in this process you find something very interesting. Because the field you absorb in this way will create a new atmospheric condition around you, because now you create field without any waste, the body of the man will evolve. The waste system we have today, it becomes irrelevant. Because now the body does not need to discharge any waste, because it releases back as field in its environment. There it goes, our digestion system. If you go back to the teachings, when we did the medical sections with Dr. Elia Kostova, we clearly made this very clear in 2 or 3 sections when it came into intestine and the stomach and the rest of it. Go back to these teachings. Keshe Foundation Webmasters, please release the sections which cover this in my part, not where was done as a physical. Because it's important. The part where I have explained, and I explain now again, now that you understood that the air you breathe becomes like a pad in your lung, that it feeds the blood vessels, so happens the same in your stomach with the food. No single atom of banana ever crosses your intestine into your lymph, but the same way as your lung. But you understand, even the banana was created out of the amino acid of the interaction of the field of the earth and the sun. So, now that you understand, do you need the digestion system? Now that your lung can feed your body not only with the emotional part, feel the strength, which is the combination of the amino acid, but the physical strength material which the body needs, then you become independent of the position and the space anywhere in the universe. Once the world of science, and many of you have done, you drank the water with the orange in it, and when it went into your stomach, it gave the emotion feeling of the orange, but it was no orange cell in it, except the energy pack, which is at the strength of what we call orange. And then it transfers to the lymph, which is the physical liquid, not the emotional and the soul liquid, that it transfers it to the point of the body of the man when it's needed. So we understand there is no difference between the lung of the man and the stomach of the man. One has the pad for the gaseous dimension, and one has the pad for matter condition dimension. But now that we learn the interaction of the fields within the lung of the man, is enough to create and absorb all the energies. Do we need the stomach? Or gradually, as we don't, our body converts itself to a new disposal system as a kidney or a storage. Would our liver shrink to nothingness, very, very small, just in case if there is a need for a storage of energy? Would we lose our kidneys? Would we lose our bigger intestine and intestine totally? The answer is yes. As I said as a joke to some children in a teaching, there are no toilets and public toilets in the space. And we don't see astronauts as they do now. They put all their waste in a bag and they throw it in the deepest space. Let it hit somebody else, not me. And if it by accident comes back and hits the spaceship or the space lab, they're in a big problem. They are the cause of their own demise with their own excrement. That's how simple it is. As we don't have churches, we don't have toilets either in the space, because they are both the same. They are all waste of time for the waste which does not need to exist. This is the clarity of understanding the totality. I am the creator. I am the point of existence of my own. This is why I released the rest of the commandments. As I gave it to Moses, now you're all Moseses. You have to understand and evolve yourself. None of you become the priest. None of you will ever become Moses. But now you understand the totality. And then what these instructions are, what these commandments are, is that do not create any filter between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. Read into the commandments and understand the teaching of this morning. You have found partially the path into the universal community. Understand the totality. Understand the reason we are here and we are born for. I can live on this planet for thousands of years, but I've chosen the body physicality of the man, with all its pitfalls and all its joys, to transfer the knowledge that this time there is no mistake. And once you sell one item, you become a salesman. There is no salesmanship here. This way we give you the knowledge that you decide that I don't need to pay for someone to kill for me to enjoy. As the creator of the energy, me, what I call the atom, in the interaction of my physicality with the soul of my physicality, which is the Eve, I decide the creation, confirmation of my own existence. In different spans of universe, in different position and condition. So what you got to learn from today's teaching, which is the next step for us to understand the entering of the energies of the universe within our body, is under our control. We decide. We decide where we and how we like to be presented, to manifest ourselves, or to feel to be. Start practicing. Change the rhythm of your breathing. A slight position of your arm to the left or your leg to the right, that it changes the position of the absorption by the motion of the fields in your lung. Decides the motion of the arm is the energy of a banana. The motion of the movement of the leg is the energy of olive. Create a slight movement and get the feeling of the emotion of what you receive. If I sit, slow my heart down, and I put my one finger up and move my lung slightly forward, I get the feel, the taste of orange. But it goes back to one thing. The energy I absorb from the environment, as the lung and the heart is a gravitational point, I have to feed into the soul of the man. That the soul of the man understands the condition of physicality, that the soul of the physicality can exist. It's not that the soul uses the environment to absorb of the matter state. Soul receives the energy of universal gravitational field force. The physicality is conditioned to the inertia, which is a matter state, and in every position in the universe there is always a matter field strength according to the position and the condition of the fields in that environment. Even when you look into deep space and you see nothing, there is still matter state according to the strength of his position. Otherwise, you will not shine that you can see it in interaction with the field of the universe. Translucency of the depth when we look into the universe through the eye of the man is because there is a matter state strength in that position that it manifests itself, but allows the light according to the strength of the field of the eye of the man to be absorbed and to be observed. Now you understand. Do we need this supermarket? Or condition of the emotion of the satisfaction in the strength of the soul of the man with the magnetic gravitational fields of the matter state, what we call the inertia, gives the elusive field the pleasure of the taste, of the look, of the belief we have. The reality is very simple. We have to start learning a new way to feed ourselves. Then this brings a new dimension. And that is, when we achieve this, would we look at the oranges when we don't have a digestion system and just enjoy the beauty and the feels which they want to give us, without us ever eating them? Even though the orange will fall off the tree and compose and become something else. Or would the physical dimension of the energy to become an orange, as the orange tree sees no need for anyone to take it, will change itself to the field without the fruit that we can absorb from the tree? Don't forget, the vertical people are more advanced than man. Much more advanced than man. Then we understand, we change the condition of the whole planet. These are not theories. In time, man will see. In time, those are who are the travelers of this planet. They are here as visitors. That's what they do. They do not eat from this planet. They do not take and kill an animal to receive. If that animal is in the strength giver fields that they need, they receive what the animal gives, that now it has become the earth and the soul of the man, the sun, and the interaction fields is what the body needs without ever touching a single animal. Then we understand the monetary system which has been created to control man through his food and his need becomes irrelevant. Nobody can control what you breathe and nobody can charge you. In 2018, we'll see a lot of changes because many of you will start. This year, we open to public. This year, we become one of the main forces of teaching on how the man to become a peaceful man. Through understanding, through teaching of how we can survive and create a condition that we do not feel cold, we do not feel warmth. We decide what temperature we want according to the fields which we create within the boundary of the man, from the energy which we release from what we need, that it gives us the temperature we need. The big question is, the very big question is, now that we have become wise and we stand in this process, I wonder how many of you can you tell your partner and you say I love you with the mouth, the word with a sound, and your emotion confirms through the soul interaction of your soul and their soul. Now you understand. Thou shalt not lie. It's not the word of the man. Now we have the interaction of the soul of the man. When I tell you I love you, it's very easy because my soul carries a dimension of the strength for that, and you carry the same. And the beauty of it is, the love has the same strength across the universe. It's the only common denominator in the universal community, which means I'm giving. You take what you like. I'm a lover. Then you fall in love with the soul of yourself. That means I cannot lie to myself, and you become the clear, transparent soul, which become the ultimate goal of all these teachings, for man to join the universal community. Now you may understand the 24th commandment. The equality of the soul of all created things across the universe. And it goes back to another commandment, that there shall be no leadership and no kingship, as all the souls see each other as equal in giving. And the competition is who can give more. And the competition is who can give more, that more can elevate through the condition of giving. We say in English, all men are made equal. In the universal language, we say all the souls are equal, and there is no hierarchy. And the minute we achieve this, we don't judge, we don't steal, we don't lie, And in so many ways, you can't tell another soul, I love you, without soul. Is not a strength that love shows itself. This is why most of the stars in the universe shine the same color, because of the same strength. Does not matter about their size. Unless their matter state inertia interacts in the fields of their dimension. Now, you made the cups, you made the oranges, you made the waters, and as Alex can tell you, as a member of the Earth Council, and one of the leading scientists of the Keshe Foundation, you could taste the banana, the orange, and the drunkenness from the same cup, according to the emotion and the time of the field of the need. So, now you understand why he is one of the members of the Earth Council. He understands the strength of the soul in the dimension of the physicality. And he was one of the first ones who opened the door. But you were all blind to it. You copied it, but you never understood. Just normal. Now you understand. It's time to evolve. It's time in 2018 to move in the new dimension. Once you learn now to be done with even drinking liquid, now you can understand that you create the liquid within your own body yourself. Then you understand you are the creator of the physicality of yourself as you decide. In one of my teachings and one of my papers, in the medical sections, I have explained something very, very interesting. I never understood. Maybe now you understand. The doctors and the medical people today, they cannot explain, and they just pass by it because they don't have the knowledge and nobody asked the question, is that they empty the lungs from 6 liters of liquid or 4 liters of liquid, and you ask them one question: where does this liquid come from? Oh, the body produces it. But the patient has taken no liquid. Hardly any that produces 6 liters of water in the lungs. This is a natural phenomenon because they don't understand it. Now you understand from the teaching of today. When the emotion is not befitting the interaction of the soul of physicality with the soul of the man, it does not take from the pad of the lung into the river of the life of the soul, which is the blood, what it needs. You create a dam. You create a reservoir of energy fields, which is equal to the liquid of the lymph of the body of the man, which has no need for. Then the interaction of the hydrogen and oxygen field strength which enter the lung starts creating its physical dimension in a gas level, which is the liquid. So in fact, as I've explained to the doctors, if you change the emotion of the man, or you change the physical condition, the posture of the lung of the man, or you allow different rate of breathing, all the liquid will disappear from the lung of the man. The liquid in the lung is created by the interaction of the air we breathe. Does not come from the inner body, physical body of the man, that it gets stored in the lung. Now you understand how we die of pneumonia, how we die of lungs being flooded with liquid. Because it's our emotion. It's the fields which we have absorbed and we have not converted it to a usage we need, but through the construction and restriction which we have created emotionally, we convert the oceans of the planet, which are created the same, in our own lung. How do you think the water ever came to appear? The physical gravitational magnetic fields of the center of the earth, in the interaction of the inertia of the body of the earth, has dictated the absorption and creation of the liquid, what we call water. So now we understand the gravitational magnetic field of the heart of the man, which carries the emotion of the man in respect to the central gravitational field force of itself, and the earth has created the same ocean in the lung of the man. There is nothing which comes from the physicality with the inner structure of the body of the man. You decide in breathing what type of water liquid you produce in your lung, then the pad absorbs that energy that it transfers through the blood into the soul of the man and the dimension of his physicality. There is no difference between the creation of the, what we call the oceans, and the liquid in the lung of the man. But we have become an expert in it, we do it faster, and that's why when we go in the lung of the man, we'll see liquid. That jellish thing we call liquid of the lung of the man. This is important for you to understand. Then, as we see how energy is transferred from the body of the man into the lymph, then you understand how the energy is transferred from the orange into the physicality of the existence of the man. This is what we are. This is how we are created, and this is how we can manifest and create ourselves in the dimension of physicality anywhere in the universe. Now you understand why our soul is released when the physicality has nothing to contribute or to hold on to it. And now the soul of the man becomes free, and now it can take its position in any dimension in the universe, and because of his accumulation, he can become a star, a beginning, the creator of life. If your soul, in interaction with the inertial gravitational magnetic field of this planet, led to creation of your physicality and the dimension strength of this planet, so it can do anywhere in universe now that it's free. Now you understand in one of my teachings what I said, Earth is the nursery of the start of the stars of the universe. We need a nursery to create the soul, that it becomes the seed for the creation of absorption of the correct elements in the universe. This is why you see billions and trillions and beyond imagination of the man stars in the universe. Where do you think it comes from? The soul of the man is sacrosanct. And what sooner the man understands, the sooner man will enter the dimension of universal condition. You remember the sun in interaction with the field of itself create the essence of the creation of gravitational magnetic field of the earth, and that has led to the creation of the life on this planet and the life of the soul of the man in a finer strength. And now when this finer strength gathers together and become a soul of the man and establishes the physicality of the man. So the same can be done anywhere in the universe. This is why when the time of the physical dimension finishes, the soul of the man takes a new position. Because now it's free. It has matured for itself to become part of the totality. The beauty with this is that we do not understand. And now we have to understand. We have to evolve to the next level. We have no choice. Now we understand the purpose of our creation. A single speck of dust on its own does not make a planet. It has to be a collection of these, that it leads to creation of the seed or a planet. So is the soul of the man. This is what we got to understand, and this is the part of the further development in understanding of the totality. The sooner we go through these processes, the sooner then we decide if we would like to live the life of the man of universe. Because this is us who creates us according to the condition of the energy of the environment, which we feel happy to manifest ourselves. This is what is for us to confirm our own existence. This is what we need to understand. This is what has been denied to us. This is what we have to evolve into. This is what we have to comprehend. This is what changes the teaching from now on. Because now it's not teaching anymore. It's understanding oneself's operation. We still, as I said before, we carry on with making the cores and making the medical systems and the food systems. But those of you who have gone through the process of the evolution of comprehension of the totality will suffer a lot. Because it's a dimension, it's a transition. And you see the physical side, and now you have to live with the dimension of non-physicality, in the dimension which you want to manifest yourself in. It's going to be a process of conversion. It's going to be a process of us understanding the totality of ourselves. It's the process that all the teachings which we've done with up to now with different parts of the educational, experimental, come together. As I said recently, this is the graduation time. Many world leaders will rise against the Keshe Foundation because they see their position in danger. Because now they have no position to control. Food, water, financial, economical forces have been used as a point of control. Fallacies on the name of religions, different type and sect, but all the same, has been used to, in a way, slave the soul of the man. Now the only person who decides my soul is going to be enslaved to others is me, myself. Thou shalt not rape means you cannot rape, steal from your own soul. It's not for the others. You cannot deny your own existence to confirm another to be better than you. You confirm your existence as the soul of a lover to give, that the others through your own process elevate themselves to elevate the others. It's a brick wall. And a man has to be the giver, to be always the bottom brick, that the others can be put on higher, that in totality reaches the highest to see on the top the beauty of the further distance. The understanding of the totality is the essence, is the key to all this teaching, and not creating another dimension of mysteries and magic. Listen to these teachings of today. This is the process of starting for you to become independent of the earth planet. To become independent of any position in the universe. Because what do you do in another position when there is no need for the long, but still the transfer of the energy of the environment is needed for the survival of the man, or the confirmation of the existence of the soul of the man. Teachings from now on are very much targeted into understanding the position of the man and how to survive in a space. As we evolve, we understand more. As we teach, we understand more. As we understand more, we teach more. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. And I'll remind the attendees they can put their hands up if they'd like to ask a question. We do have several questions. Jan is asking in the live stream, when the man dies and the soul leaves the physicality, can the soul take any position in the universe, or is there a judge who decides the new position? In other words, is there a hell or heaven, or does the creator decide the new position of the soul of the dead man?
I think you better go and read the 24 commandments. You get your answer. There is no one to judge, and there is no heaven and hell, because if you have not done wrong, there should be no fear of hell. On the other hand, the position of the soul is created by gravitational magnetic field strength, which is created by the soul during the time of its existence. If you look and go back and look at the teachings, and where Rick shows magnets on the table, Each soul, in its freedom for its physicality, will find its position in balance and where it can be in the universe. Is not predetermined. This is what we say, thou shalt not create any or do any crimes, that in doing in doing wrong, you use a lot of energy of your, or fields of your strength to cover it, to do it, and the rest. So you have less to give. So you are positioned as a soul in the fields which are less, which means you become a burden to the other souls to give to you, to elevate you to reach their level. In a way, the reason we say don't do this, don't do that, or comes in commandment, is that when the soul leaves the body of the man, is of the higher strength, that it doesn't become a burden on the another souls for them to elevate it, as it becomes itself the feeder to elevate others. You don't become a burden, you become a source. The hell is to be a burden, if that's your interpretation. And then you understand, in my teaching I'll say, it'll come to the point that man will do nothing but to giving, because the brighter the light, the more it can shine and the deeper it can go, that it can reach more. It's not to light up more, it's to give more. In a deeper strength, in a higher strength. This is the fear they put into you, man, by creation of heaven and hell, because hell is the time when you need, you become a burden to receive for the things you put wrong, you did wrong, and you took from the others in the physical dimension, gravitational magnetic field of the soul, of the physicality, that you have to compensate. And then, would you like to have somebody on your backpack and to feed them? Or would you like somebody equal next to you, that he walks the same with you and he feeds you as you feed them? It's a lot to learn. Go through the release of the new commandments. Put them in the context and understanding of all the 24, and you will find a path. Listen to the teaching. I emphasize, there is a lot, now we can go back to it, in the medical teaching which was done the first 33. In understanding the transformation of energy with the emotion of the physicality of the different organs of the body of the man. And then understand it and bring it forward to the present understanding, then you will see how we can live independent of any physical damage. My enemies are many, but the fear of my existence puts a fear of life into them. Because of what they might steal, that they cannot complete their cycle. My biggest enemy is me, not anyone else. Because I do not understand, do not want to understand the true process of existence. So I rape, I steal, I do everything else to my own soul and nobody else's. And then I'll tell other people to judge me, where I have to be the judge of my own conduct. Then if I don't do wrong, I don't need to appear in front of a judge to be judged. If you don't do a crime, if you don't cross a red light, if you don't hit a man or rob a bank, you don't need to appear in front of a judge, do you? When you don't rob a bank because robbing it means stealing from the others, when you don't cross a red light because it means you put other people's in life in danger, and you watch your own conduct, there is no need for a court and a judge is there, because you have judged your own conduct.
Mr. Keshe, what about Krasmir's question? Is there a way to clean your soul from wrongdoings in the past?
If you know you've done wrong and what you've done wrong, and you have judged yourself that is wrong, you have already achieved balance. As long as you don't repeat it. This is the key. If you say to clean up the wrong of the past, it means you stood still, you know what you've done wrong. The two ways. What did you do wrong, and what was the consequences of it for the other souls and your own soul? We always look when we do wrong, what we done that they people have done something and their reaction was whatever. But we don't look at it that what I did wrong, it has created a condition that my own soul had to take a new position which wasn't to be. So we call it a punishment, but in fact it's a new position which my soul is not at comfort. When you're adulterous, when you sleep with another man or a woman behind the back of your husband or your wife, and you know is wrong, and you can't, you find every excuse to justify it, then the soul of the energy which you were supposed to give to your wife is not there, so she moves in different position. Then there is the same with the soul which you have made adulterous position with, that moves to a different position. So now your soul has taken a new position, because it's not what it's supposed to be shared equal between the two souls which shared it. And then you find this position is painful, it's not what I want to be. And then you blame it on everything else except looking at where you started the change. And if at that point you realize it's me who's been the cause of this, and I have to correct it, then you have judged it, and you, if you do it and carry it out the same way, that you might not be able to achieve the satisfaction of the both, but at least near to it, by giving more of what it needs to be, create a new position to be, then you already judge yourself. You have achieved that peace. You have achieved the position you want to be, or you should have been. So when you judge yourself, you don't need no one to judge you, and you don't need, unless you do not see the correction needs to be done. We have created one of the worst things on this planet by killing if somebody killed. This is the worst thing which they was brought in, and is against all the teaching of Christ, bless his name. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. What a rubbish. Those who created these, they're the ones who are going to abuse them. Eye for an eye. If I take eye from you, I give you an eye. I give you enough to see, not for you to take an eye from me. This is how it was put to judge for those who abuse the soul of the man to have control. If I take from you, you're not there to take from me, but it's my job to give from you to replace what I've given, what I've taken. I become your eye. I give you the eye of my soul. That eye of physicality is not needed. It's the elevation of the soul, not taking another eye. This is how the whole teaching has been misinterpreted to suit those who could put man in fear. Then they could abuse the man, and we've seen the abuse. They say, you confess, you go and confess, they know your weakness, and then they rape you and they do everything else with the children. Where do these souls confess to? To other abusers, or to their own soul? In the coming months, we see the establishment and the end of Catholic Church through this misconduct. That has been promised, and my promise shall be done. No man needs to confess to no man except to his own soul. With it will come the end of fights between all religions. We have to understand the totality of what we are here for. Not to be judged, and not to do what we've done again and again, and always find a point to justify the same mistake. And then when we suffer, we blame everybody else except ourselves who did it, and we found an excuse to do it. And adulterous behavior, and then you go from one man to another and you justify, because he did that, I did this. So you stole from the condition, and now you have a lower soul. To achieve it, you need to gain energy, and you always suffer more because it's not the level that the soul wanted. The physicality has pushed the soul into that position. The payment, the punishment, as you call it, is that the soul which gives unconditionally has found the filter of stealing from it. And then it does the soul itself to find its position, and it puts the physicality in a position to find the mistakes. If mistakes is not corrected, it gives it another one. So you repeat till you learn. And when you learn and you don't put it right, then the soul loses the totality. Then you fall in what I call a free fall of not being able to receive and give. And then you say the relationships run into problem. Because when it's not there, the soul will not commit itself to anything, because it knows the condition is not what it was agreed. When you enter a relationship, you become like two sons, a twin system. One takes from the other one and gives, and it has to be equal. When one takes more and gives less, what happens? What about if when you give more and take less, what happens? What about when it's in balance? We have to become the judge of our own conduct of physicality, and then the soul will always shine the same. Have no fear of judgment, except yourself judging your own conduct. And don't be afraid, because there are no courts and no judgments in the space. I've seen that in billions of years. Man has conditioned himself to abuse, and those who were clever have used it to abuse them. I explained this to a man of rope, as you call it. They have created this condition of confession. So now the man who has confessed to knows the weaknesses. And now he knows the weaknesses, he abuses it to his own advantage. This is what the Catholic Church has come to. then because he has the abuses of the mother, which is he confessed to adultery, he abuses the children of the mother. Because if she talks, he talks. So he's captured the wife and the children. Now you understand how, especially we see this in Catholic Church, confession and adultery connections to abuse of children. That's how it's come, most of it. We've been witness to it for centuries. And man does not want to understand. 99% of children abused by the church in the condition of the home is when the mother or the father has confessed to a weakness of the soul. And then has opened the door for other abuses of the children. And the fear of the same. Silence of the parents against the views of the man by the child. If you open the door of the abuse, man will be shocked. Any other question?
Jan says, thanks for the answer, and is interested in what is the meaning of higher or lower strength in the universal community? Is the soul with higher strength closer to the center and the lower further away?
No, we are all equally positioned. The higher strength means being able to give more. And in giving more, there are more to receive from. I explained this to the position of the Earth Council members. Listen to it in the past couple of weeks, where I explained the Earth Council members are not being gifted, they are being open to have access to a higher strength of their own soul. And when you have when you have a brighter light, the deeper you can shine. The deeper in depth of the space you can be observed. If you have a candle, you can light a room. When you have a floodlight, you can light up the whole stadium. That's all it is. Do you want to be the candle or the light, the floodlight in the stadium? A candle will only reach maybe the paper that I can see, but the floodlight allows hundreds of thousands of people to see. Man should be the floodlight and not the candle. With all the 24 commandments, if you understand it, we make the path for you to become the floodlight and not to become a candle. That's all the purpose of the teaching. To give pleasures for more to see, for more to enjoy, for more to be able to give, for more to come together, that they can share more. I always explain this. I'm a lover of football, many of you know. If I put a candle in the middle of the football team, the football ground, not many people can see. But if I put a floodlight on the same ground, many people will come and they share their love and experience and the joy of the game, and with it, each other. Man should be the floodlight and not the candle. Where the present way of the religions has made sure the man stands a candle, that they can abuse it, and they can blow it out and play with it where they want. Any other question?
Well, Mark Erb asks, does the soul need to bring the energy of the physicality into itself before moving off into space?
It's not the energy of physicality is the energy of the soul of the man, which leads to the creation of physicality. Look at the higher level, not the lower. Then you get enlightened. Now you understand how beautifully all the teachings come together. Now you can understand and use your own physicality to absorb energy without taking and killing. And then you decide how much of this energy from your environment you give to your soul, that it can give more. You take from the physical dimension, field strength, and you convert it to the energy of the universe. In a way, the body of the man, if you understand, the heart of the man, the breathing of the man, the physical dimension of the man is conversion of the lower strength matter state into higher strength, which is the soul of the man. Where, as we said, in the spaceship structure, the three bases are gravitational, they pull everything in to feed the top. It's not that the top is weaker. The top is weaker in taking because it's such a giver in giving. The understanding has to be complete. When you are a taker, you're gravitational, you bring everything in. When you're a giver, it means you don't need much to take. You give so much that the others can exist through your giving. When we look at the structure of the hydrogen in the amino acid, hydrogen is a giver because it doesn't have such a gravitational magnetic field strength in the center of it. It has only one electron and one proton and one neutron if it's deuterium. But the others, because of the number of the plasmas in the center, they're heavy. They need to get fed. So in feeding, they absorb more. And then in that process, they have to release that in coordination with each other. The one which is not dead, but is weaker in the strength of the gravitational, they feed into it. But as a giver, it gives. If you look, the hydrogen is a lover. We have to understand all the parts of the teachings together now. And then if we understand it and comprehend it and translate it the correct way, then we have achieved what we are here for. It'll take time. Many of you in the coming time will start the process of what I call your soul feeding, your physicality feeding, and then to see how your physicality can feed your soul and your physical body through the breathing and the others that you do not need to kill. You do not need to be worried where my heating bill comes from, because now you can warm yourself through the interaction of the emotion. I like to have the feeling of the snow, Christmas, that I enjoy, because then it means something. It does not matter, I'm in South Africa and this is shining and sunny. It's us who has to create the condition of understanding of the soul, of our physicality, and there was no other way than going through the teaching we've done up to now. The gases, the field of strength. When I speak about the pad of your lung transferring energy to your blood, if I would have told you this 2 years ago, 4 years ago, so the guy's crazy, he doesn't know what's that. But now that you have seen it, you produced the gas, it was enough time for a lot of you to experiment. Now it's easy. Yes, why didn't we see it before? Now we understand it. There is no energy, there's no need for energy to be transferred with oxygen to go across through the lung. And then you see how much fallacies we accepted because of the lack of knowledge. But in a way it's good, because now we know what has been wrong and what is correct. Then no one needs to fast 21 days to become your new guru and a god. You fast 21 days, I fast for 210 days. Then you become 10 times bigger than the guru. Then what is the next trick up his sleeve? Any other question?
there is a question again from Jan. What is the difference between the soul of a man like Mandela and a man like Hitler? Do their souls have the same position?
No. I explained this very clearly in respect. You have to consider 2 or 3 parts of the teaching together. As I said last week, and in my teachings in the past, the man who makes the gun, his soul pays as much as the man who will release the bullet and kills him, or an animal. The same, the one who creates the conditions for elevation of the soul of the man will receive the same. The process, as I said before, whose soul was elevated more, between Diana and John Paul? And I don't think the light of the candle of John Paul's soul even flickers. And maybe the light of the candle of the soul of Diana is much brighter. John Paul was brought in and placed and knew about all these adulteries, all these child abuses from day one, and he kept silence, and many children suffered. Many people suffered. He was brought in to create the revolution in Eastern Bloc. That was the only reason we saw the Polish Pope, and came with it, opening of new doors and more abuse. We are aware of another revolution of the same, by the same people. That will not happen. I promise you, will not happen. So, which one is worse? Mandela? Or which one gained more? Hitler? That's, you have to answer, not me. You understand enough to be able to answer it. Any other question? Read the commandments as was released and was revealed to Moses. Those which he carved, and those which were carved on his soul by the interaction of the fields between the Creator, the soul of the Creator, and the soul of the man. We need to understand. We need to comprehend the totality. Don't read the commandments on their own, one at a time. Put it together and look at it as a conduct of the soul of the man. Then you can judge it through the physicality if you want. We will see many, many disasters this year. We will see many, many joyful things this year. And we will see the maturity of the man this year. In a coming cycle, we start a new approach, a new way to look at life. And as I said, once one receives, the others will elevate to receive. I hear from many Keshe Foundation supporters that they have started experiencing different things with their soul, with their brain, with their body. And some of it is joyful, some of it they cannot explain. Some of it is experiment for man to start learning the next step. And some of it will be very harsh because we have to correct a lot of things of the past. We will see, we will understand, we will comprehend the totality when we understand and connect all the commandments together, not one at a time. In so many ways, what I said to Moses was easy. I transferred the emotion of the soul, and that's all you need to do. But he transferred it into the physical tablets, which was not the condition. He was supposed to, the light he received, that he was enlightened, to enlighten the soul of his followers. But he chose the abuse of the physicality. No tablet was ever carved, he did, to abuse. The enlightenment of the soul of the Moses is exactly the way you are getting enlightened. Small pieces but connected, but in his condition was given all to him in one go. If you would have seen him the time when he received, he was a glowing sun. But he chose the path of deception and physicality. He couldn't say, this is what I was said. He had to make something people could see, so he carved what he wanted to carve, not the totality. In a way, if you go down the process, with Muhammad bless his name, he did most of it correctly. Even though he made other mistakes on top of it. What in part Moses did not bring, Muhammad tried to bring through the enlightenment, the same light. They saw both the same thing.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, Dr. Azza.
Mr. Keshe, I understand why Jesus came, because Moses messed up, but why did Muhammad came?
Because the others did not receive the message.
But was it Muhammad's message was more complete than Jesus, or was the same?
More or less the same, and a little bit more. He released more. One of the things which Muhammad bless his name released, that you see it now in these commandments, he says, Allahu Had, Allahu Samad. God is one creator. It's very different than the 10 Commandments.
Mr. Keshe, is it a reason that someone is born in a certain religion, like I was born in Muslim family? Is it a reason for it?
No, it's just that the way the soul, your soul is created out of the dimension of the physicality of the position of the parents. There is no reason why it's born Buddhist or whatever. We are created, and what we are created out of should be equal. In a way, when you look, it's a very, very interesting point. Most of the Keshe Foundation scientists will come to it. You will see it. It's amazing when it comes, because we have such a system in the space, but it's not in the way you see it, but I call it a system. You know, we have these night vision glasses, and we see. There is a vision to see the soul of the man. And then you see different strength souls. The flickering souls and the floodlight souls. How much energy that flickering candle needs to take from the floodlight to show itself in its existence? A lot. And we see the souls that way. So when the man is created, all the souls are the same. It's us through our conduct who decides. It's very, very hard. What happens to the child which is just born and dies? How pure is that soul? Or he had 9 months of pleasure to give and take through the soul of the mother and the others. The time of the departure is irrelevant. The elevation and strength of the soul which counts. Why do we pray? Why do we bless somebody's soul? We give to them more, and they have more to give. Why do we tell our lover, I love you? Because in reflection of the receiving, it tells you, I love you too. What she doesn't need, I receive, that I need to confirm my existence. Religion is a man-made thing to abuse the man. Does not matter if you're born in Iran, born in New York, or born on Mars or planet Zeus. All the souls have the same attributes. This is what is in the commandment. All souls are equal. Not the soul of the man on planet Zeus is higher than the child born on planet Earth or in Tehran. It's us who have been put in that position. Then you understand there is no religion. The religion is one. Believe in the soul oneness and live in the creator, which is the soul of the man. This is very hard for those who have used. The biggest problems, opposition will come to the foundation from the religious groups. But on the other hand, if you look at all my teachings, I always respected the prophets when they correctly conducted. But never the temples, the false temples which was made by the followers for abuse of themselves. You're Iranian, you're aware of the present uprising in Tehran, in Iran. We know the outcome. We know the outcome without the interference of the United States or Israel in affairs of Iran. Because it all has come to an end, all at the same time. What will be the outcome for the Iranians after this, or post-mortem of all this? Let's believe in what they believed, because it was created to abuse them. The same as Catholic Church, the same as we see in Jerusalem, the same as we see in other places. Everything is coming together perfectly. It's just us we have to do. So it doesn't matter if you're born as a Jew in Jerusalem, or as a Muslim in the city of Qom, or as a, what I call a Christian in Vatican. I said something very recently, very amazing to somebody, and I saw tears. I said, and it'll come. As you know, I've said very recently that the city of Vatican should be returned to Rome. It will be done so. And then the same story goes as we saw in Church of England in 1980s. In 1980s, when the opening of the Church of England came, and the Church of England decided that we don't have many followers. Not many people go to churches anymore because they've found out we are the tricky guys. They start selling the churches. When the first lot of churches sold in prime position, don't forget, churches always were in a prime position, city center. Centers were made around the churches, because you go to Sunday Mass, you do your shopping, you go home. So the prime position property value. Nobody wants to keep a church. So those who bought the churches, they start demolishing it to build office blocks, shopping centers, new housing compounds. And what happened? In the first few cycle of the demolishing, they found so many body of the children in the church ground, in the church buildings. And by law, the companies, the construction companies had to call the police. They started investigating 20, 30, 50 bodies in one church, on the ground of the church. They start asking questions. Then they found out is the outcome of adulterous behavior between the priests and the nuns and the others. Then the Church of England brought a law. You cannot demolish the property you buy from us. We have to do it with our own workers who already know about the adulterous business of the priests. So if you bought the church, now you couldn't demolish it unless they could demolish themselves to hide their own crimes. Or you had to keep it as a church. As part of our organization, we bought one and we landed with the church. We couldn't do anything with it. Because it was bought to become a shopping center, a building construction. Now we couldn't touch. And we had to be on the waiting list when they have enough people to hide their crimes to could demolish it. Look at the many churches in England, especially centers which are sold because they couldn't demolish it. It's become pubs and cafes, or in a way funny apartment structure. The same will be with Vatican. When the Vatican opens up, when people dig the grounds, you'll find many, many bodies of children. But there was supposed to be no sex. Where did they come? Out is the body of the angels. Then the whole thing collapses. The same will go with the other religions. Because people would start seeing their own soul through their own conduct. I'm not attacking any religion. I'm just opening the misconduct of the behavior of the man and the consequences of the revelation of the truth. Where did the vow of silence come from? I've explained this many times before. There is nowhere in any holy books that speaks about the vow of silence. We all know, I explained this before, where it came in. Vow of silence came, and it only applies to women in the Catholic Church. Because of the nuns who were pregnant, could not be, how could be a sister and be a pregnant? So the sister has taken a vow of silence, is kept in hidden till the child is born, and then it comes back out. This is where it came. We don't have a vow of silence in Judaism, we don't have a vow of silence in Protestant, we don't have a vow of silence in Islam. The abuse and the hiding of the lie of abuse has brought, and now it's open. Creates misconduct. The unbalanced conditions, when a man is created to create and he's told he cannot do, but still the body for millions of years has been set to do. I decided to become a vegetarian, but my body is used to meat, then I damage myself. It's the same with the body of the man who's produced to reproduce. It says, I made thee to make children that they may love me. How can a man who's made to love, to create a condition to love, to appreciate the presence of the soul which created it, now is allowed, he cannot create. He cannot stop the process. Still the same love affair, still the same love for another. So it creates a false condition of homosexuality, child abuse, and vow of silence. All created out of lies, which was in commandment of Moses not to be told. We can tear the Catholic Church apart in such an easy way that they will do it to themselves. I promise you one thing, I'll return the stones of Vatican back into Colosseum. Because it's better to abuse the physicality and not the soul of the man is the source of creation of physicality, because then he can stop it. It's the same with all the religions. It's the same, to me, religion is the point of the weakness of the man, or he has created it himself. And he had no choice because he couldn't understand it. When you stand in an island and a hurricane comes, in the past it was a wind, it was bad, you know it takes so many days for it to cross, you sacrifice the Virgin. Now we have satellites, we see it says it's going to be there in that strength, so we already, it doesn't need to sacrifice, we know it's a natural process. Which one was correct? The sacrificing of the Virgin, or now understanding the actual weather forecast? Lack of knowledge created abuse. Now we understand more, why should we? And now, as I said, I take man into a space to be equal to the others in the universe, that he cannot be abused. And the abuse doesn't come that the others will abuse you. It's you who abuse your souls because you go back and believe in everything else. The guy didn't say I'm the God or the priest. The guy showed you a new revelation, a new way, and because you abuse yourself, you made him God. It's us who creates these images, not images that create us. Now you tell me. Is it Mandela? Is it Hitler? Or Diana? Or John Paul? To me, where I stand, John Paul created more crime than Hitler. He didn't touch the children, the fresh soul. He knew and he allowed it to happen. The same with the present Pope. The same with other religions. It's very interesting. Watch what I explained a few weeks ago when President of the United States announced Jerusalem as a new center for them, a new embassy, a new capital. Who is the loudest opposition? The Muslims who want to be there, is their holy place, and the Catholic Church who's claiming it's illegal. Why is it illegal? It's your home. You're claiming it. How can they claim it to be theirs and you claim it yours, but they cannot claim to be theirs because you claiming it? Or are we all the same? And have we all cheated humanity? Those who were available to be cheated. Is not the message of the messengers, it's the abuse of the followers, which is the pain. But don't forget, the followers have done exactly what the messenger has done. Cut off the same piece of cloth, because the soul accepts the elevation of the level of the prophet which he accepted. Those of you who follow the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, in time to come you carry the soul of the universe, so there is no abuse. Because you're enlightened to the strength of your own soul and nobody else's. People will understand very soon when we speak. The question is, what is going to be the reaction of humanity? We saw in Austria years ago, over 90% of the people used to go to church. When the child abuses by the church, by the priest in the church opened up, At the moment they're talking about less than 10% people going to church. They lost their faith in the faith. Soon we'll see the same when the truth and the reality opens up about all the faiths, how they've used it, and how collectively in the background they collaborated to keep the status quo, but they lost. The reason they lost is because I have changed the time. And it's the wishes of my soul, the freedom of the total soul of the man, that they can join the, what we call universal community. Within me there is more than all the priests and all the churches and the mosques and the synagogue put together and every other one. Because I am a giver and they are the taker. And in giving I will change. It's the mistake I made with Moses and the ones before it, not putting it right. And nobody else can do. It was my mistake. I trusted the soul of the man. A weak man. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, I have another question. When we talk about,
If I leave you Azar, you'll ask questions till
no,
the end.
this is the second one, Mr. Keshe. May I ask the question now?
Yes, please. Azar, would you like to tell us where you come from? Because you've got a beautiful history. Where were you born?
I think I told everybody last time in one of the teaching, I guess.
Where are you born?
I was born in Rome.
Where is home?
Rome is about 2 hours from Tehran, and it's a religious city. And it's a small town, and then it was a small town. And even during the Shah time, I had to cover, we had to wear the chador. But you know, then it was different. Like we were wearing this light, very white sheer chador. You could have a mini skirt, and then everybody could see it, but that was normal. But even then, we had to wear it. And then when we left, anytime we want to travel in the car, I would remove my chador because it was then I was out of home. But anytime you enter, you had to wear it. Then I went to high school. Then I went to school and high school, and last year of high school, we moved to Tehran. Actually, it's very interesting. Was being born in a religious family. I was always against what they were telling me to do. Like my grandmother always, when she was there, she would tell me I have to wake up 5 in the morning when the sun is out. Sun is not out to pray. And I refused to pray. And then she would tell me, you have to thank God. God created you. And then I told my grandmother, I didn't ask God to create me so that he can take me back. I didn't ask God to give birth to me. So I refused to pray. And even in the school, with my friend, I always discuss that why they're praying or why they believe in that. And sometimes my friend actually made fun of me by telling me my face looked much brighter in the morning. And they said, oh, maybe you pray this morning. I said, no, I wash my face twice. That's why my face is brighter. So I was very resistant. And when I found sciences in middle school, actually that was my God. You know, I said, oh, this is it. And I used to go and tell my grandmother, look, everything is proven. You cannot prove God exists. So I was this battle of between religion, and at the same time, in my family, they used to marry girls very early stage, like at 12 years old. They used to get married. And when I was 7 and 8, I noticed that. And I used to study hard because I want to have high grade in the school, so nobody put me in a position to get married. And then I remember one time I was 7 years old. I stayed in a little pool we had in the back in a backyard, and it was very customary to have a pool with some goldfish in it. So I sat there with my clothes for like 5 days, even didn't sleep at night. And I kept asking my mother why we're born, why we all have to do the same thing, go to school, and then get married, have children. I don't want to do that. And then finally, when my mom came and said, start crying, I said, I don't know why, but everybody does this. And then I saw my mother crying, I came out. But she couldn't answer me why everybody does that. But then all I knew that I don't want to get married at the age of 12. So I would just get my grade. All 20 was the highest grade in Iran. It wasn't 100. So I would get all my grades 20. I showed it to my dad. I said, look what I got. And I even made him to open a bank account for me so I showed him that I actually didn't, at that time I raised about 1,000, but that money was a lot of money, and only on the good exams. And and then in the school, actually, and I look at my own character, and I realize our character is something that we are born with it, and is our essence. Even in high school, I remember in classes, anytime I went to the class, there were two groups of people. It was myself and my cousin and the other group, and I was very competitive. But at the same time, the other group always hide things from other people because they want to become the first in the class. But I always stayed after class because there were about 10, 15 people that always had to stay behind and come take summer courses in order to pass the year. So I would stay from like 4 to 6 and create classes for them and teach everybody math and sciences. And then the funny thing was, the more I taught, the more I teach these people, and I didn't hide from them. And always I became the first one in the class. And the other group always lost, it became second. And they were always upset why I became the first, because then now I look back and I see myself, I said, you know, the reason I always became first because I always taught people. I didn't hold anything back. And I was open to teach. And something that really, when I look back, I enjoy as my memory, that I had a wonderful childhood in high school, and I really did a lot of work. And then at the age of 17, I wanted to go to medical school. So I told my dad, if you don't move to Tehran and then I stay behind and don't go to best high school in Tehran and don't get into medical school, it's his fault. So I kind of pushed my dad to sell everything, and we came to Tehran at that age of 17. And actually that was the exact time that in Rome, the start of revolution happened, and then it kind of spread to Tehran and other cities. And my last year of high school was at the same time the revolution started and ended in 1978. And then after the revolution, then they closed the universities, of course. And then we went for demonstration against closing the universities. And that was the time, and I kind of, a couple of them got beat up, by the police then, but I wouldn't tell my parents. And then one time we were involved in this kind of work that one time they came when I was, after I got married. That's another story. But then they came and they came to our home and then arrested us when I was pregnant, 6 months pregnant. And so after that, when I came out, I was in prison for only 3 months. When I came out, my daughter was born. The same day that I came out, the next day she was born. And when she was 7 months, we couldn't really stay in Iran because you could no longer go to university or have any possessions, like couldn't have any homes or buy anything. So we're kind of like living in a society without doing anything. And another thing I noticed was anything would happen in the Tehran, they didn't know who has done it. They would come and arrest the people who were in prison because they want to question you. So my parents also had a fear of that too. So we decided to leave. So we gave somebody money, and my daughter and I, we left to the border of Iran and Turkey. And it took us 5 days walking from we went to Tabriz, and from Tabriz, We went to a bus, to the bus, we went to the mountain, we got off, and then we walked for 5 days until I got to Istanbul. And I stayed in Istanbul for 6 months until I got my political asylum from US, and I got here. And then I ended up in New York.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, carry on.
In New York, I was married and I started going to school, learning English. And but we had to work at the same time going to school. So between my ex-husband and myself, actually he was my cousin as well, my ex-husband. We decided after 2 years that my daughters were small and she was suffering because we were both going to school and work at the same time. So we decided one of us should go to school and one of us should work. So my ex-husband then was working at the publishing company, and he had his computer, 2-year computer degree that he wanted to work. And so he was working, and I said to him, I was a biology major. So I decided to tell him that because he got a 4.0 average in computer science, and Boston University gave him a full scholarship and everything, but you couldn't go. So I told him, why don't you go study and I take over your job and I quit studying. Then after you finish, then I can continue. So I remember that summer of that year, I went summertime, I would take biology class in university and then do a work study then in this from 8 to 5, and 5 o'clock I would drive to his work. He would work from 9 to 5. Then I go to his work and I stay from 5, 6 until 12 midnight. So over the phone, he would teach me how the computer works. And month of August, I learned how the computer works. So I took over his job for him to go to school. So when I worked at the publishing company, actually my work at the publishing was better than his work. So after 2 years, my boss came to me and told me, because I told him my plan is to leave after 2 years when my husband is finished with the school. He came to me and told me after 2 years, what can I do for you to keep you in my place forever? And I was very young and I was very naive. And I think I went and I calculated all my bills. And I went to him, I said, give me this much, then I stay. And the reason also for it was because my ex-husband got very sick. He got ulcerative colitis and he needed the insurance and I had to stay. So I stayed in a place and worked, and he gave me actually good salary. But still after my ex-husband was in a hospital for like 4 months at NYU University, they took his colon out. And I was going to work in the morning, go to the hospital at night every night, and then go to my daughter at night for 4 months. And then after he came home, I still, after 2 years after, I wasn't satisfied with my life because I kept going to the same place and I always dream about becoming. And actually what has happened, he becoming sick, I came to a point, I said, I only have a 2-3 years studying. I haven't done anything in the university. So if, God forbid, I lose my job, I have no degree. So I don't have any hold on anything. So I said to myself, I have to go and study something that nobody can take it away from me. So I can always put bread on the table. God forbid I lose my husband. So who's gonna do anything for me? So I came out. My boss then, he was very disappointed. Still, he doesn't talk to me because I gave him my promise that I stay forever, but I left. But anyway, I went back to university, completed my bachelor. At the same time, my divorce happened between all these movements. And so I started the dental school by myself, and I just got loans and went to the school. And when I came out of the school, I think I was a very naive in terms of what's going on in the society. But I started working in places. I did my residency 1 year, came out. I started working in different practices, but I always either got fired in from practices or I quit because it wasn't something that I would do for people. It was very unfair what they do to the patient. I didn't want to do the same. So I tried, so I had to open my own practice. So even though I had $350,000 loan from the school and all that, I just went for it. I just took the place, and I couldn't afford to buy it then. So I got $350,000 loan from the bank, but that turned out to become about $8,000. So I got $450,000 from the credit cards, and finally I built it. And I started working 7 days a week for 2 years. Every day I would go to work, and I started paying and credit cards, paying the loan, and finally I started, moving and got better. But and that's how the situation is. So by even though I had all that, I remember 2000 by 2011, 2010, 11. I would wake up in the middle of night at 2 in the morning. I couldn't sleep, and I would turn on the TV. I would make my coffee. I stay up until 5 and go to the gym. And something was not right. I couldn't. But then I came about certain movies. I started watching movies, and I was still had the taste of where we coming from, where we going. And I remember watching a movie was called Mind Walk, and nobody knows about this movie. And everybody I talk to, they they don't know anything. But it's the greatest movie I ever seen. That movie. I watched that movie like maybe 25 times, and I went to buy it. It didn't exist in a DVD. It was in a tape. But finally, I bought it, and I keep giving it to people. And I said, I mean, watch. This is amazing. But anybody I gave it to, they all said, "Oh, it's a lot of listening. You don't want to listen." So anyway, that was the start of my journey, and to find out who am I, where am I going, because still having the practice and living in a high society like this, it wasn't satisfying. It was something that something was missing. So, and then in 2012, I think that was the time I contacted you when I saw your presentation and about the foundation, and I didn't know how to contact you to just tell you how much you make my life much easier, because thinking about somebody coming and take care of everything in the world and giving everybody all they need, food and energy, all that, it was just such a relief. And I wanted some reason to contact you and tell you I'm so happy and congratulations. At least you came in and you saved the world. But I didn't know how to do it. And I found on your website you take volunteers for people who are sick. And I said, okay, I'm going to just tell them I have some diseases or something. At that moment, actually, there was something wrong with me. It was some pain I had in my body, which I didn't know where is it coming from. So I contacted your website. I said, I'm sick. And they gave me an appointment with you from Belgium. So I had a 9 o'clock interview with you, and we talked about it. And then, but I was telling you how I appreciate I am for you exist this knowledge. And then you told me, you asked me, so what is your problem now? Then I said, okay, I have to tell him I have pain in my body. And then you told me maybe I have MS. But then, and actually after that, I said, oh, I look at the MS and I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't buy into it. I said, I don't think I have MS. But anyway, I went back to Iran. I went to a doctor. They said, no, you don't have it. I came back, and then I tried to find out what's the reason for it, because I knew some emotion has to be behind it. And then 2014, I didn't actually follow the foundation because you weren't talking about anything about the soul or anything about existence. So I wasn't attracted to that. I was happy that you existed to bring people a relief of suffering, like people can live normal and have food on the table, have a safe home. Kids have food, kids have a parent, kids have care, people have education. for me, it was always, from the very beginning, was very odd. How is it possible as a human, we don't see that education and food and shelter, it should be for free? How come nobody sees that? It shouldn't be paid for. Education, food, and shelter is free. I mean, but everybody look at it differently. But anyway, 2014, I went to Peru to do ayahuasca, and because I saw Graham Hancock that talk about consciousness and how you can, with consciousness is so deep inside of us that we don't know some of the stuff we do and what is in your subconscious mind. And I knew I just need to shed everything that is not from light of God. I just want to get rid of that. But the ironic thing is this, when I go back to my grandmother, and she was constantly telling me that I have to pray for God. And I remember I came all the way, went to the science, and I believe in the science like God. And finally, I got to a point that I became a spiritual, but not like following the religion, because I didn't believe in going to a mosque or going to a church. I believe it all is one. All is only one thing. But it was interesting to see how coming to the point that saying, okay, there is something more than the science. What is above the science? So there was ironic, and then sometimes I feel bad about pushing my grandmother so much, and sometimes apologize to her that I had to argue with her. But when I did ayahuasca, ayahuasca actually helped me a lot. I shed a lot of stuff that I no longer I needed. A lot of fear, a lot of sadness, a lot of those stuff, just shed a lot of it. It changed my life for better. So then when in one of my trip to Peru, I met Zaizan, and then Zaizan told me that, and he asked me where I'm from. I said, I'm from Iran. And he said, oh, my good friend is from Iran, Mr. Keshe. I said, oh, you know Mr. Keshe? I know Mr. Keshe too, but he said, I'm a teacher. And then he says, so are you in the teaching? Are you listening? I said, no, because he's teaching sciences, and I'm very happy he's there because he's talking about the energy and food and production, agriculture. He says, no, he talks about the soul. I said, you must be joking. He says, no. And then that was the time I just joined the teaching and signed up, because that was my thing, knowing about the soul, where we're coming from. I wasn't interested in energy or maglev or any of this. And I think I'm more, when you talk about the soul and existence, and those more resonate with me. I'm more, actually, it makes me wake up. When you talk about maglev, sometimes I can fall asleep with that. I don't know why. But that's the story, Mr. Keshe.
What I asked you, thank you very much for telling about your life. But what my main reason was to ask you was, can you explain to us, or for those of us who don't know, what is the significance of home in Islamic religion?
Significance of home?
Home, where you were.
In Rome, there's a prophet that was buried there, Hazrat Masume, Prophet Masume, they call her. And actually, when you go there, is a place people go for praying. Is like a monument of the prophet is there. And actually, when you go there, energy of the place is great. And there's I think it's a kind of like, I feel like it's a vortex, but energy of the place is amazing energy. And people, and actually a lot of people over there, they are religion, but a lot of my family still live there, but not a lot of them agree with this government because it's done. But overall, is a very religious city, and it's been there for, and actually they have the school that they teach all these Islamic people, like Ayatollahs. They have the biggest school in Rome that they teach them. And has changed a lot. Last time I went there, it has become much, much bigger and is much nicer. And actually, when I went last time, I enjoyed walking in the street. It's very clean. People are nice, and it's beautiful. But it's a very religious place because of the Prophet Hazrat Masumah.
So you're born in a very Islamic based
Yes.
path of belief.
Actually, I have a cousin there that he is very, I don't know what he was born with, because his father was like that. His father, when we used to go to his house, he used to tell us, tell a lot of people what their life is, because he could see a lot of things. And even he said he himself is going to die in a couple of in metals, and he would never travel. I mean, we used to go to a village. They had a village. We used to go summertime to a village, but he would never go with us. And because he said, I'm going to die in a car accident, because he predicted he's going to die in a car accident. And then remember when I was here, one year my mom called. He says, guess what happened to Mr. Haydar? I said, what happened? He said, because he used to have herbal in his house. He didn't have a job. He had a lot of room full of herbal, and he would go to people's home and give them medicine. That's what he would do. He would just go help people. His wife used to have a huge sewing school that also they had lands. So that was his job. So my mom says one night he comes to walk from the house. He comes to his wife. He says, I forgot to give the medication to Mr. So-and-so. I'm just going to go there and come back. It was 10 at night. So he comes to walk from one side of the street to the other side. A motorcycle hit him, and he take him to the hospital, and he dies. And exactly what he predicted. His son is just like him too. Like if I call him, actually I talk to him a lot, because before even that, we talk about Elfan and philosophy, things like that with him, because if I call him and I tell him I have a friend, his name is this and this, he can tell me the hair color, if there has a skinny legs, the eyes color, everything. He can tell everything. That's how he sees things. And he tells me I can see even sometimes it's so scary, I can see even into people's underwear, what involves in the whole people. And then I was talking to him, and every time he sees me, he likes to talk to me a lot. Every time I go there, he has a pleasure to sit with me and talk to me. And I said to him, what is it that with me that you think, he says to me, you have a great, you have a great gift, but you never had the mentor to teach you how to give your gift to other people. But he gave me a Quran. He says, read this. If you read this, you will find about yourself your path, how to go to that path. And then I told him I cannot read the Quran. He gave me a Farsi version of it. And he said, this is important for you to understand your life. Read this, and you know how to go about your life. So I read it sometimes, but I still don't understand, because he says, I said to him sometimes I can read other books, but I'm reading this book. He said, no, this book is going to help you a lot. And I don't understand why.
Thank you very much, Azajan. What is important to all of us is not where and in what condition and environment we are born, is more or less what we learn and what we expect and what we follow. In many ways, I was born very much like you, not very far from where you were born. And I was born in a house where I saw the conflict of religions. I could see clearly my Jewish family could not eat on the same table as my Islamic family. Were taught the principle of Baha'i faith, and at the end I came not to rebel, but I came to see it's another path of abuse. And in so many ways it also decides to what extent you want to go. I sat and I watched many times in my young age my Muslim uncles and family by accident turning up at a house where my Jewish cousins were, and they wash their dishes 10 times, or their hand or their clothes, because they touched a Jew. I witnessed at the age of 6, 7. When I went to an uncle, a cousin of my family, And I watched them washing the plates so rigorously. I said to my mom, what is she doing? He says, because we are Baha'is, they consider us as dirty, and because I'm a Jewish background, she washes it 7 times. That is clean, not touched by a Jew. As you know, in Islamic religion, they call it 6 bajab, which is about 6 length of the hand, finger, what do you call it, small finger to the thumb, and they consider it to be washed. And I never understood how come if my mom is a Jew and they invite us, or Jewish background, she's Kohen, why do they invite us and then they go through all this rigorous washing and cleaning? Don't invite us, then don't do all this stupid thing. And my father used to say, it's for them to mature. It doesn't mean because she's my cousin I cannot love her or be here because of our childhood. But it's, I love your mom, and she comes from a Jewish background, and it's for love of both I take the both. And I watched this many times. I became aware of the conflict in religion at a very young age, very young age. And then I saw more abuse. I watched many, many times mullahs who came and took their frock off and they became normal people because they didn't want to become mullahs. They didn't want to teach because they couldn't see the light. I witnessed many times in my parents' house, mullahs with their families come from different cities and they take their frocks off and they walk out as normal men after staying in the house for a few days. And then they could find a job or they could be placed somewhere. And I realized man of faith is the soul of the man, not the man himself. I asked my father, why do we see these mullahs coming and changing clothes? He says, they don't even know why they exist in that form. And then we saw the change in the revolution. Many people just put the frock on because it was a path to learn or earn what they wanted to do. I have respect for all the religions because at the end of the day, I brought the religions to be what it became later on. But it's us to understand. I married a Catholic, and I watched the same abuse. And then it became more and more with Caroline that the fallacy of the abuse has different names. Very much the only way I can consider it or I explain it to a lot of people, I call one faith as a sexual abuse, one faith as a physical abuse, and one faith as a what I call psychological abuse. And all the religions have found a way of abuse of the man, the soul of the man in the dimension of physicality. And the sooner we open our eyes, we'll see behind all of them. They're all one. And that was the first message given to Moses. There's only one creator. And very soon we'll see they come together. It'll be the end. The peace on this planet has started. Because it's our wish. But we got to realize something. That the strength of wanting to be peaceful is much stronger than those who want to be the intermediary between the soul of the man and the physical life of the man which wants to be peaceful. And these will be turned over. In the coming time, you will see, as I said very recently, what are we going to do with all these temples? What are we going to do with all these properties, the churches, the mosques and the synagogues? All? Don't forget, none of them pay any taxes, so it's a net profit. They bought as much land as they could and they've been given to the fear of getting better position in heaven by those who are weak in character. What are we going to do with all these properties which becomes available? Are we going to make nation by nation decision? Or are we going to make a decision as one nation? What are we going to do with all these properties which has been collected by the abuse of the man in the name of the religions? In one calculation, there is an estimate runs into percentage of the total assets of the world, is held by those who use the name of the faith and abused it over centuries. So what we see is a collective abuse of our grandparents and great grandparents and parents and their parents and their parents. One thing which the One Nation councils, the Earth Council, Universal Council, have to contemplate on, as part of, as I said, they become part of the Keshe Foundation work and they are becoming there as we are there to support them to achieve it, is what are we going to do with all these resources, the wealth which has been collected in pennies and cents and whatever by the abuses of the soul of our ancestors. What are we going to do with them? How is it going to be shared for the goals we've taken from Philippines or South America and has been bought as shares of the companies in New York or in London? There has to be a consensus. We have to find a solution, total solution, for what I call the financial investment of our ancestors in the dimension of the abuse of the soul of them and ours. The problem is moving. The problem is there and it has to be handled. How are we going to return all the abuse, whatever taken like on a regular basis from Far East, like Philippines and Thailand and the rest, in the name of the church, and buildings which are built in Rome and New York on the name of the Catholic Church or different mosques or the whatever? What about the properties which are given to these organizations and this path of abuse? Then you'll see one thing. There is no alternative but one nation. You'll see no alternative but accepting that we have invested from Philippines in New York and in Rome, and we all have to be benefited by it. It's a very, very interesting challenge. Sorry about that, my little boy is here. Every time we talk straight and correct, he has something to say. The reality is, there is a number of positions which are coming up that we have to understand. These are the dilemmas which are rising very, very fast. Palestinians and Jews are of the same blood. They came from the same blood. Christians and the Jews are of the same blood. So, how can we find all these to be corrected? A lot of people would oppose a lot of end of the faith the way we see it, because they're afraid of the abuses which will going to open up, which has been done in the past. The only solution is left to forgive. We have no other choice, because it's not one abusing the other. We all have abused everybody at the same time and together, and one way or another, we referred it to the other one not to show us. This is what it comes to as one nation. To become one nation, we need to close our eyes to a lot of the wrongdoings of ourselves and our forefathers. And a lot of abuses which is done in the name of the Creator by those who could see us weak. I attended Fabio's funeral and I attended his memorial. And Carol and I, we sat and watched, and we literally were gobsmacked. We were absolutely shocked how the soul of the boy, such a beautiful soul, had time limit. The priest had 1 hour, exactly 1 hour he closed the session. Was the soul of this boy so worthless? Or was it higher than the priest? Or has it become a business? And it's all business, how we can rob in the name of God, which at the end of it is us. The change into one nation, one planet, which will take shape in different ways this year and the coming time, will force us to face these. We have to change these. And the only alternative left is somewhere a compromise that we were stupid enough to let us and abuse our forefathers. But in a way, the ones who abused us is part of us. Like us, I came from the Islamic in the most holiest city in Iran. These priests, these mullahs, these rabbis are not born to be. They are the product of the nature of the environment we have created. So, becoming one nation is not just teaching the soul the understanding of how to exist, is to understand how much we need to compromise. How much we have to close the doors of the past with the knowledge, not to leave things behind the door, but knowing what's in the inventory of the things behind, and starting to live in a new house. I've been to Vatican, and I've felt the pain. The funniest thing is, all these so-called religious people are fully aware of what they're abusing. The only thing is, they don't want to admit the level of abuse. As a priest said to me once, I'm not a child molester, I don't abuse children. And I said to him, but you abuse the soul of the man. It's the same rape. The position with us, with change of new technology and bringing up the new one nation, one planet, we have to do a lot of work. And have a lot of strength to see the time has come for change to the conduct of the soul of the man, not the physicality. I watch many revolutions, many things are happening at this moment around the world. And I watch how it's changed compared to the past. And I watch how much man's maturity is leading to it. We're becoming mature, we're becoming more aware of. But now in a physical awareness has to become to awareness of the soul of the man, and then opening of the universal community into man. Would man mature in a night, or would man mature in another 1,000 years? Would those who mature have to wait for totality, or we become part of that totality, become matured faster? All of it, it depends on us as a human race. I taught you today how to feed yourself. For those of you, I know many of you will start doing it and see. Start with one taste, one vision, one understanding. And then when you achieved it, the next one. Start understanding the operation of your soul, the operation of your physicality in respect to the soul, and operate through the soul of physicality, which is the heart and the lung, to give to the soul of the humanity or your own body. That by giving, it creates new position. In a way, from now on, when you eat, it's not just an orange or a potato. It'll be the soul elevation of what I can give to the soul of myself. Using the soul of physicality to convert it into the soul elevation of your own soul. And then you understand. This is the purpose of teaching you about star formation and magnetic systems. This is the reason I teach this way, because the common man can understand. Some of you got touched by having a free energy system. Even I gave you the free energy system, you don't see it. You look for a medical application. I gave you the system. All of you, every man who's ever heard or followed the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, you all can live without any pain for the rest of your life, or any diseases. But understand the essence of the teaching. Work through your soul, and not through the physicality to touch the soul of the physicality. Or at least learn to start with, to work through the soul of the physicality to change the physical condition. As a man, we suffer. It's a part of physicality because of the interaction of the filters so much. When you walk through your own home, your body continuously has to interact with every field, the chair, the table, every cell on the carpet, every cell on the spoon, the fridge, and everything else. It's a continuous battle living in an inertial environment. But in deep space, when in space, it's not so much a battle. That's why your cells don't need renovation. That's why you last and live longer. This is the problem with living with the enforced environment. In the space, we have all still the same fields, but it's open to what we want to take. It's not encaged, and it's not encaged. When you're encaged, you have to give and take. Look at your aura. You see all sorts of colors. These colors come because not coming out of your body, because the chair wants this one, the bed wants another one, the fridge wants something else, and depends where the fridge and the freezers are, then your aura is different because of what they pull on you. And the one who want to abuse it, they say, oh, this is something wrong with your kidney there and something wrong with your liver. But did you take the same picture where the fridge and the freezer was behind me, what I was giving, what I was taking? We have to start opening our eyes in a bigger dimension, in the totality. And then we start seeing. Then we become in charge of our own physical dimension. Then we can travel the span of the universe. I promise you, I didn't come here with a spaceship. I came through the soul of the man. Nobody landed, no one, but we traveled the space of the universe through the expansion and the need of the soul of the man, or any being. Try to understand the teachings from now on in depth, not just by words. Teachings from now on becomes very intensive, but it's what is needed to go through the evolution of the change to be able to travel the spans of the universe. We still make the Ganses, and we still make the spaceships, and we still do everything else. But if you are real entity of being, entity of the universal community, I have given you all the knowledge. It's your choice. Would you like a donkey, or would you like to be in the jumbo jet? Or now, if you want to travel in the spaceship, or in the spaceship of the soul of the man. According to your intelligence, you choose. But at least this time, you can't be abused. We call it a day, it's nearly 3.5 hours. And try to come and to understand more about totality, the soul, the physicality, the operation of the systems, and knowledge of the creation in all of the teachings in the past time. 2018 is time of maturity of the man. And we have started it. It's for you to expand your horizon, not for us to push you. Because if I push you, this is what it is, we create another temple. If it's done by you, you decide when and how and what you want to take from it. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we meet on 2206 teaching next week and further on. But be ready for a change, and be ready to see a lot of changes on the international scene, because we have wished for it, and because of it we will achieve it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe, I think by next week we can present the Constitution in Farsi.
You're quite welcome. we asked you.
Yes, I mean, Dr. Patrick and I will be working on it. I think by next week it should be ready.
You're quite welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again, of course. And thank you to all our listeners and people participating in the workshop. And this is the 205th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 4th, 2018. And we'll end the live stream and our Zoom meeting for today. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.